Assalamualaikum and good day to all of us. This video refers to the ancient artists of the world. That the content here is what is contemporary art. But before we discuss about contemporary art, let us sit down and introduce you to our group. I am Jalia Sanggakala.
I am Aini Kamad.
I am Nurasha Aikamar.
I am Najera Sultan Quirino.
I am Aslia Permetes. I am Sahara Umar.
I'm Jonathan Sampurna.
And I am Eleanor Panganting.
I am Saibin Omar. I am Nadir Riray. What is contemporary art? Contemporary art is the art of today, produced in the second half of the 20th century or in the 21st century. Contemporary artists work in a globally influenced, culturally diverse, and technologically advancing world. Their art is a dynamic combination of materials, methods, concepts, and subjects that continue the challenging of boundaries that was already well underway in the 20th century. Diverse and eclectic contemporary art as a whole is distinguished by the very lack of a uniform, organizing principle, ideology, or ism. Contemporary art is part of a cultural dialogue that concerns larger contextual frameworks such as personal and cultural identity, family, community, and nationality.
As of now, I will discuss the major contemporary art movements and artists. Given its art of today definition, you may be surprised to hear that contemporary art actually has a relatively long history. The number one is pop art. Intended as a reaction to preceding modern art movements, contemporary art is thought to have begun on the heels of pop art. In post-war Britain and America, pop art was pioneered by artists like Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein. It is defined by an interest in portraying mass culture and reimagining commercial products as accessible art. While the movement lasted roughly from the 1950s through the early 1970s, it was reborn as new pop art in the 1980s thanks to artists like Jeff Koons. The second one is photorealism. Much like artists working in the pop art style sought to artistically reproduce objects, those involved with photorealism, a concurrent movement, aim to create hyper-realistic drawings and paintings. Photorealists often work from photographs which enable them to accurately reproduce portraits, landscapes, and another iconography. Jack Close and Gerhard Richter often work in his style. The third one is conceptualism. In turn, pop art also helped shape conceptualism, which rejected the idea of art as a commodity. In conceptual art, the idea behind a work of art takes precedence. Major conceptual artists include Damien Hirst, Ai Weiwei, Circle of Animals, Zodiac Hits, 2010. The fourth one is minimalism. Like conceptualism, minimalism materialized in the 1960s and is still prevalent today. According to the Tate, both movements challenge the existing structures for making, disseminating, and viewing art. What sets minimalisms apart, however, is that it's simple. Abstract aesthetic invites viewers to respond to what they see, not what they think a given work of art represents. Donald Judd, Saul Lee Welt, and Dan Flavin are some key minimalist artists. The fifth one is performance art. Another movement with conceptualist roots is on performance art, beginning in the 1960s and retaining its popularity today. Performance art is a drama-inspired approach to art. While the art form is performed by artists, as the name suggests, it is not solely intended as entertainment. Instead, its goal is to convey a message or idea. Predominant performance artists include Marina Abramovic, Yoko Ono, and Joseph Beuys. Next one is installation art. Like performance pieces, installation art is an immersive medium of art. Installations are three-dimensional constructions that transforms their surroundings and alter viewers' perceptions of space. Often, they're large-scale and site-specific, enabling artists to transform any space into a customized, interactive environment. Well-known installation artists include Yayoi Kusama, Dali Chihuly, and Bruce Munro. The next one is earth art, a unique spin on installation art. Earth art or land art is a movement in which artists transforms natural landscapes into site-specific works of art. Robert Smithson, Christo and Jean Claude, and Andy Goldsworthy are celebrated for their avant-garde earthwork. So the next one is street art. As one of the most recent contemporary art movements, street art is a genre that gained prominence with the rise of graffiti in the 1980s. Often rooted in social activism, street art includes murals, installations, stenciled image, and stickers erected in public spaces. Case street artists include figures from the 1980s like Jean Michael Basquiat and Kate Haring, as well as practicing artists like Bunky and Shepard Fairey. The next one is contemporary art and the digital age. This was the last major contemporary art movements and artists. So let's move. Contemporary art is continuously evolving and more artists are taking advantage of new technology to further their activity. This includes code-generated art, which can produce everything from abstract pieces to futuristic vector portraits. As advances in artificial intelligence continue, some artists are using the technology to create hyper-realistic portraits that test the boundary between reality and imagination. Crypto art, which take advantage of blockchain technology, has been picking up steam since 2020, with digital artist Beeple making a landmark 69 million sale at Christie's with his NFT college. More artists and fine art institutions are seeing the possibilities in this form of art. Crypto art is allowing digital artists to monetize work that may have been previously difficult to sell. The boom in NFT art is allowing artists who create ephemeral pieces with their installations, performances, or murals to be compensated and collected in a manner that was previously unheard of.
Famous painting styles of the world.
Expressionism, an abstract style of an art, takes on many forms and Expressionism is one of them. The overflow of human emotions is portrayed through the artist's point of view. Surrealism was a movement that sprang to light in the 20th century in France. This an art form sought to release the creative potential of the mind by irritational juxtaposition of images. The Surrealism cultural movement includes visual art and writing too. Neoclassicism. Neoclassicism is art that draws on the art, culture, and history of antiquity, particularly ancient Rome and Greece. This was a long art movement that lasted from the late 18th century to the early 20th century. These works aren't particularly popular with contemporary art enthusiasts who may view it as inauthentic for one age to imitate another.
Realism. Realism has been the dominant style of painting since the Renaissance movement. Often regarded as real art, realism attempts to portray the subject of the painting as it appears in real life rather than being stylized or abstracted. The artist puts a substantial amount of time and effort into creating an accurate depiction of life forms and objects, using a series of controlled brush strokes of many hues and values. With paying attention to details, he or she uses perspective to create an illusion of space and depth, setting the composition and lighting effect in such a manner that the subject matter appears real. Fauvism is the style of Les Fauves, French for the wild beasts, a group of early 20th century modern artists whose works emphasize painterly qualities and strong color over the representational or realistic values retained by Impressionism. While Fauvism as a style began around 1904 and continued beyond 1910, the movement as such lasted only a few years, 1905 to 1908, and had 3 exhibitions. The leaders of the movement were André Derain and Henri Matisse. Again, originating from France, this type of art developed between 1886 and 1905 as a response to the Impressionist movement. This time, artists reacted against the need for the naturalistic depictions of light and color in Impressionist art, as opposed to the earlier styles. Post-Impressionism covers many different types of art, from the pointillism of Georges Seurat to the symbolism of Paul Gauguin.
Cubism. Seizing a famous artist once said, everything in nature takes its form from the cylinder, the cone or the sphere. Interlinking this later tone into the basis of Cubism. This another expression of abstract art and geometrical shapes form a Impressionism. This art form originated in Paris in the late 19th century. Some of the features of Impressionism include use of common and ordinary objects, then brush strokes, usually angels. Futurism. This style of painting developed in the late 1960s and 1970s in reaction to abstract expressionism. Futurism artwork often seem more real than reality, as every detail in captured in a nuplo is considered insignificant. Some futurist artists copy photographs by projecting them onto a canvas to accurately capture every precise details, while others do it freehand or use a grid system to enlarge a print or photograph. One of the most renowned photorealistic painter in the Jacques Clouse, who massive mural-sized portals image below artists and celebrities from a grading photograph.
Abstract art. Any artist's expression of reality that is illustrated but not in its trust form can be considered as an abstract form of art. It is the true product of radical to abstract expressionism, broad movement in the American painting that in the late 1914 and become a dominant trend in Western painting during the 1920s. Modernism. Modernism in art is considered the art that was produced during the period between 1816 and 1917. It is a radical way of thinking by the artists of modern day